So obviously, Jaxson Dart avoiding hits is something we're going to talk about.
Yep.
We could get to that in a minute. To me, the thing that jumps out here, man, oh man, how loose of a ship did Brian Daboll run? Are you trying to tell me that, like, in the last week or two, Abdul Carter's suddenly acting unprofessional? Like, this is a new occurrence? I mean, so the first punishment is a series. The next punishment's a quarter. The next one, I'm sure, will be a half. And then maybe we'll get around to actually sitting his ass down for a whole game. You know, the other thing that I now, of course, this is all dropped at Abdul Carter's doorstep. He's the one who is not being professional. All right. But I think bigger picture, Sal, I think this talks to and speaks to a real lack of veteran leadership. Like the way, like he's not just doing this now. I'd have to think, it's a guess, all right? But I'd have to think that Abdul Carter, for the most part, since he was drafted by the Giants, has been a little sloppy, a little unprofessional. And the fact that it's December and he's doing it again, not to mention that he just got reprimanded, just got punished, and still did it immediately afterward. Are there any veterans in there that are saying, hey, young buck, listen, this is how we do it? The answer apparently is no. So not only do the Giants not have a lot of talent, the Giants clearly have no internal leadership. This is a mess.
Yeah, and while I give Kafka credit for trying to hold Abdul Carter accountable, last night should have been the definitive end to Shane, Kafka, any kind of hope. Where we talked about it yesterday going into the show, it could have been, had they won that game, I mean, at the very least be competitive, but had they won that game, give you some optimism, reason to say, you know what, Dart, Kafka, maybe they should get a real look. Well, the way that game went last night, on top of the Carter stuff, for me, I don't want to hear any more about Joe Schoen and what he could do and what Kafka could do. Clean break. That's what we said a while ago. Fire everybody. And you have to then question, I mean, you know, we talk about Carter and his attitude. Well, who picked him? We could sit here and say, you know what, we love Carter and he would have been my first player off the board. I'm not interviewing him. I don't know his makeup or his work ethic. That's on them to figure it out. And I was shocked and disappointed with the first instance. I mean, how could you have this happen again for a young player? So you're right. It's beyond just the results of another lost season at 2-11. It's beyond they've got some talent, Sal. I think they're going to be all right. It's definitively over. They need to get rid of everybody, clean house totally, and bring somebody in, an adult who's going to be in charge and hold these players accountable from the beginning. Yeah, and listen, I was saying yesterday, and I was even saying before yesterday, that I thought there was a chance that the Giants were really going to try to illuminate, you know, and look for the positives in Kafka. And I believe that there was that was the mindset, and give him a chance to earn the job. I said this on yesterday's show. But, you know, just watching now what appears to be an element of dysfunction and a lack of professionalism, the more you think about it, the more you need somebody who's done this, who could come in with a big sweeping broom and just get rid of the trash and really establish some professional parameters. And the thing about Joe Schoen, so let me get this straight. The quarterback, who we all know is really good, and by the way, Theo Johnson, you got to make that play. That was a beautiful throw, 29 yards. I know it was a tightly contested play. That was a gorgeous throw by Jaxson Dart, who's got all the skill you could possibly ask for. The problem is, Joe Schoen didn't even ask for him. That was Daboll. So the one thing that's really shining out, you know, this year, Dart, the Giants probably had their quarterback of the future. It was the coach who's no longer there. Evan Neal, inactive. Abdul Carter, unprofessional. Banks stinks. Like, yeah, this is the end of the road, man. And we've talked about this so many freaking times with Shane. And thankfully, I don't want to say thankfully Daboll's gone, but thankfully that conversation has ended. This needs to be a clean sweep, and the Giants need a big boy to run the room. They are a circus, more than I thought. Now, I will say that, I didn't underestimate the Patriots overall, but last night just thinking, hey, it's law of averages. The NFL is, you know, competitive league week to week, but you saw the disparity clearly last night in a team that has a legitimate chance to go all the way in New England. I still wouldn't pick them to win the Super Bowl, but my goodness, I mean, they got the quarterback in place, they got the head coach in place, boy. They do everything well, so they just dismantle. I mean, they put a beating on the Giants. I thought that was going to happen to the Jets when they played. Remember a couple weeks ago, I was saying, it's going to get ugly, New England, and it was not the case with the Jets and Patriots. The Jets played them much tougher, much better, and New England didn't look as great as they did last night. And I think that says something about the Giants as well. I mean, why couldn't new defensive coordinator? same old defense. So everybody who's blaming Bowen, everybody who thought it was Daboll, the losing continues to happen. Everybody who's saying, well, no, without Jaxson Dart, Dart comes back and they still get their clocks clean. So it is a total mess, and I don't think anybody could stand in the corner of Joe Schoen any longer. It's just time for a clean total break. And even with that clean total break, I'm not so sure that it's going to be as good as everybody thinks it would be next year, even if it were the guy that I want in Bill Belichick. They'll be better. I don't know how much better they're going to be. When you got one of your best players, your top pick from a year ago, who doesn't want to show up to meetings on time or whatever it is he's doing, how do you fix that problem? You're kind of stuck with him.
I know, and that's why I think it's so much deeper. And
he's not productive, by the way.
No, that's the other thing, too. Right. I mean, if it was Lawrence Taylor you thought he was going to be, in 2025, can you really look the other way? Probably not with social media. Like when LT was doing whatever LT was doing, which clearly were very different things than what Abdul Carter's doing. We get that. But if there's something behind closed doors, eventually it's going to get out in 2025, so you can't even totally look the other way. Now, again, you can't, it would be idiotic to exonerate Abdul Carter here. Nobody's doing that, and I hate to pass the buck because as a grown man, you're responsible for your own actions. And the one thing that I've learned, right, and you've been doing this a long time, I've been doing this a long time, like I think when I was younger and when I first got in the business, I had zero tolerance for young players making mistakes, like in terms of rules or just abiding by whatever organizational parameters were established. I grew up, my dad was strict, I went to a private school, like just do your freaking job. If you got to be there at a certain time, show up, work hard, do your job, and go and just move forward. As I've gotten older, right, I think it's become easier for me to realize some of the mistakes that I made when I was younger. So I'm a little more lenient to these young players when they do something wrong. I don't quite crush them immediately on the first infraction. But last night, when it's the second infraction, which and the timing of it is incredibly alarming. It shows no growth. It shows no care. It shows no personal awareness. Those are the real things. But even after the game, when you had a chance to be contrite, you had a chance to step up to the microphone like a professional, like a buttoned-up young man, what do? You sound like a punk. You curse. You take no ownership. So they very well may have drafted a ticking time bomb who, number one, is not nearly as good as we thought, and number two, is incredibly unprofessional. That's a massive problem.
But the other problem is that they didn't have the proper people in place to get ahead of that. That's something that gets out of control because you don't have somebody setting the precedent.
Talking about like players or a coach?
No, I'm
talking
about the coach. Well, I mean, it could be both, but I'm thinking from a head coach perspective, GM, head coach. First of all, they made the mistake on taking a guy like that. They had... Come on, man. You're drafting somebody third overall. You tell me you're not doing the homework on him. You tell me this is all of a sudden Abdul Carter got to the NFL and he's falling asleep. This wasn't happening in college.
There were whispers that he had some problems.
Okay, so they had to be aware of that. That's number one. Okay, you want to overlook that? I'm all for that because you believe in the talent.
Yep.
The next part of that has to be, hey, here's what he did there, which should be a red flag. How are you going to fix that red flag when you do select him and he becomes a professional at the NFL level? You better have people in place holding him accountable. Clearly, that was not the case. Now, that could be because they had a lame duck head coach, and Daboll's like, I got bigger things to worry about than worrying about this guy falling asleep in the meeting. Like, get out there and go get the quarterback. I'm trying to figure out the offense, Jaxson Dart. He's got a million other things going on. But if you had a solid foundation set, and you set the tone for Abdul Carter, what will be accepted, what is going to be expected of you as a professional, I think it would go a lot differently than the way that it did. And if he doesn't like that, you say this before you take him, then you don't take him. And if you do take him, then there's going to be ramifications that maybe he doesn't want to deal with, and you just have to suck it up to a loss.
And even if you do lay it out like the way you said, which is the way you should lay it out, he could look you in the face. He could be a great liar. You could buy it, hook, line, and sinker. You draft him, but he's the same guy that he was at Penn State. Yeah, there's, think about Daboll. That's why you have to understand this is so much deeper than, having a bad 10 days or so or 2 weeks here for Abdul Carter. There is nobody on this planet, whether it's Schoen, whether it's Daboll, whether it's Kafka, whether it's Carter, I don't care who it is, Dexter Lawrence, Burns, anybody is going to tell me, and I'm going to buy it, that suddenly in the last 2 weeks, Abdul Carter's going rogue. Oh, suddenly he's starting to rattle the cage, and just out of nowhere, he's becoming unprofessional. Nonsense. So it's his fault. He's got to clean it up. But again, it speaks to a deeper issue to me, the heartbeat of the team. And the heartbeat of the team is such that they don't seem to care. I mean, I don't know. Was it Burns? Somebody after the game was like, yeah, he's got a family. Like, I think the one guy who really called him out was Dexter Lawrence, which I respect. So he's got to grow up. I mean, that's the bare minimum response. Of course he's got to grow up because he's impacting you. He's impacting the way you're perceived in terms of Mr. Mara and the rest of the Tisch and Giants ownership. It's impacting the way the franchise is perceived. And I don't know who's going to come in here and clean up this slop, this mess of the New York Giants, but it's a Herculean task. They're a joke.
BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Lawrence in Oklahoma City starts us off. What's up, Lawrence?
You know, that first hit when Jaxson Dart was sliding, that was dirty. The second hit when he was going out of bounds was dirty.
No, it wasn't.
Theo Johnson did something about it. And then when the helmet happened with Gunner, and not one person on the special teams, guys who don't even play every down, can't get dirty and throw some hands. This is New York football. You're going to let them walk all over us in the first quarter, and you can't get dirty back. You're down 20. Give me a dirty play. Give me something. And then Jaxson Dart in the press conference talking about, oh, well, I'm just an aggressive player. Like he hasn't learned nothing from his concussion. It's the same thing. This is what we do. This is clockwork. The Giants suck at an enormous pace, and I turn it on every week to watch it, and it's going to kill me. They're killing me.
Well, I mean, don't let that happen, Lawrence. Thank you for the call there, buddy. I appreciate the energy. I do. You know, but you are wrong with a few things. I think the energy is a bit misguided. First of all, the shot, oh, God, that was a vicious hit on the special teams.
But it was just a dumb play. Oh, I thought you were talking about
I'm talking about the special teams.
Okay.
There's no need to go out and retaliate after that. That's an unfortunate, my body's going down, your body's going down, our heads collide. It's not a penalty because you're a runner. So, no, you're not going to go after him and try to get, you're just not going to do anything after that. The first hit on Dart, a tick late, but I thought he grazed above him, and I forget who the defender was. I think he did a good enough job of trying to avoid any sort of direct head contact. The shot where he gets, and they just showed it again, absolutely leveled. It's not often you see an NFL player decleated in the air and thrown 5 or 6 feet. Clean hit. I don't want to hear it, dude. When you've got a foot on grass, you're free game. Just get out of bounds.
Well, that's the point. That was a stupid play by Jaxson Dart. So all this talk about Daboll and being reckless with him and what's Kafka going to do with the offense and is Dart going to protect himself? That was a stupid play by a kid who's just got to be smarter. I'm not saying he can't be aggressive.
He does.
There's no point. What are you doing? Get out of bounds? He stays in purposely, and he gets walloped. I mean, you can't have that happen for Jaxson Dart. You just got to be smarter. You're right, BT. You don't see that happen for any player, let alone a quarterback.
I mean, that was like Pop Warner stuff.
He's trying to be a hero. Just go out of bounds, dude.
Yeah, and I know that you and I, we both respect the competitive nature, but now it's just bordering on reckless and dumb.
Not there.
I know. What, are you going to get an extra yard?
Yeah, I'm with you for a first down in a key spot.
Sure.
Diving instead of sliding.
Yeah.
Or putting your head down. And that play when you're running out of bounds anyway,
pick your battles. Pick your battles. Now, I thought the broadcast team, Buck and Troy and the whoever the rules official was, thought they did a really good job.
Yeah.
Where, because there were some people who were legitimately confused on that. First of all, when your cleat is inbounds, you are fair game. That's just common sense. Now, in real speed, I wanted to see if his foot was on the boundary or in bounds. He was clearly in bounds, clean hit. But what happened the last couple of years, and Mahomes was the one who did this, the quarterbacks really started to stretch the boundaries and manipulate the rule. Oh, I know that you can't hit me. Let me get 2 extra yards.
Towing the line, literally.
Yeah, tap dance and just straddle the line and get the extra yard or two. And it's at your expense, to your detriment. So they cleaned that up, and the NFL said, if you're in bounds, I don't care unless it's a head-to-head shot, how vicious it looks or how vicious it is, that's your problem. Not an us problem. That's a you problem.
Brad is calling from Smithtown. What's up, Brad?
Brad?
Gentlemen, I'm numb to New York sports. I feel like I kind of wish you started with the Mets, because maybe it would have been a happier conversation. But here we are, the Giants, every single week. Every single week, it's the same story, except this story closed the book. What it did is the last couple of weeks, what they did is they tried to make it seem, okay, we're up 10, we're going to lose the game. We have talent, we're right there. Just like you said in the beginning, Sal, the Giants are right there. The Giants could make Kafka the head coach. The Giants could do this, could do that. last night closed the book on everything. Abdul Carter is a kid. He better learn his lesson soon, because what you guys were talking about when they were drafting him, he was a must-have. Obviously, there were a lot of things going on that could have been a James Franklin thing at Penn State. At the end of the day, Kafka is not a leader of men. Yesterday, listening to him in the press conference, he did the right thing by sitting Abdul Carter because of what he did. But when you listen to him in the press conference, he sounds like a blithering idiot. And Jaxson Dart, if you listen to his press conference, nothing is going to change until the kid gets hit 7 to 10 more times in the head. And unfortunately, and hopefully not, get another concussion. He's not going to learn. He's going to be the same kid he was in high school and college.
He'll learn.
In the press conference yesterday.
He'll learn at some point, Brad, and we appreciate the passion and fire. Good stuff right there. We will get to the Met stuff coming up in a little bit, obviously, with Devin Williams. He will learn eventually. Right now, he's just too, I don't want to say immature, but in his mind, he still thinks this is high school or college, and he could get away with the aggressive style that he played with at those levels. Maybe that hit last night will wake him up a little bit. You can't. It's a different speed. It's a different physical or physicality at the NFL level. There's no way Jaxson Dart will have a long, successful career playing the way that he does. So this is not trying to change who he is. Nope. It's just trying to adapt as you get older and mature and learn to pick your battles, as you said before, BT.
Basically refining his approach. I mean, how many NFL quarterbacks with that kind of a style, play deep into a career? I mean, Cam Newton's the one who comes to mind, but like when he hit the wall, he hit the wall. And by the way, Cam Newton, 6'5", 250, like just a thick trunk and thick thighs, and like just thick. The difference between Jaxson Dart, and we said this, a couple of weeks ago. Let's modernize it. Forget about Cam. Let's go to Josh Allen. Josh Allen's 6'5", 240, 245. He can absorb things differently than a guy who's 6'2", 220.
I've never seen those guys take hits like that last night.
That was as vicious as it gets.
I mean, he looked like a kicker getting trucked on there.
How about the kicker? I mean, now the Giants are kicking worms. They're kicking dirt.
I mean, come on.
What in the hell was that?
That's an embarrassment, is what that is.
It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Here's the snap. Giants for the kick, and he kicks a worm. It's up and it's good.
Baldy was
True Blue.
Baldy's breakdown was great. We'll have him later
did he really? I didn't see what he did.
Oh, he just was showing. He's like, what is this? What the hell? And then they cut to Dart, and he's like, yeah, exactly. What the hell happened?
He did say that, Dart. Yeah.
Sports Talk on the Fan, presented by Paramount Plus. Count on Sundays all season long with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. We'll get to the baseball coming up in a little bit. We'll continue though with your calls on the Giants. 888-808-1019. Why last night was actually a great thing. We'll do that when we come back.